Let's move on to what everybody really wants to see, is the TPMS. In order to access more menu items, you just simply tap the screen a second time, and you can see your TPMS is to the right here. You're going to select TPMS. Now, when it comes to programming your sensors, you can do that one of two ways. You can do what they call auto program, which is kind of a simple process, or you can go in and do it manually. On the top of these sensors, there is a number engraved in it. So you're going to use those numbers if you decide to do this manually. Now, the first thing you're going to do before we get into programming is going to be to install the battery in each sensor. You simply unscrew the cap on the top of the sensor, and you're going to slide the battery in and then replace the cap over the top of the sensor. One real quick tip to save yourself a lot of time and a lot of frustration running back and forth or needing a second set of hands when you're programming the sensors. If you've got a little battery pack, use that with the supplied USB cord that comes with the camera and plug that in and take it to every tire with you. You can watch the whole process right there, one spot. You're not running back and forth or having somebody watch it for you, so you can just shorten up the process that much more. Okay, so we're going to get the passenger side wheels, the sensors installed, and we're going to do this in the auto install. So first you're going to get your locking nut put on your valve stem. Screw that on and screw that on as far as it'll go. Okay, now you're going to go to your monitor and you're going to select the appropriate wheel. You're going to tap that. And what's going to happen is it's going to highlight that yellow around that wheel, and then you're going to hit the auto learn button, and while it's saying waiting, go ahead and screw the sensor on. And as soon as it catches it, you'll hear a beep and it'll read the pressure, and you're all set. That tire's done. Now you can go back in manually, and I'll show you that when we get back inside, and we can set manually our high pressure, low pressure alerts and temperature alerts and things like that. So basically you're going to repeat that to the next tire. Okay, so now you can see each tire location looks a little different. If they're not paired with a sensor, they're grayed out, but once they're paired with the sensor, they turn blue. The first number is going to be your tire pressure, and the second number is your tire temperature. So you can see I have the passenger side done and the spare tire done. So what we're going to do now is, first thing we're going to do is go in and look at our alert parameters. So we're going to select that tire, and so down here where it says axle 4 high pressure, because we've selected axle 4, so basically you're just going to tap where that number's at, and it's going to highlight around in the yellow. So we're going to back this. I want it at 130, but just for the sake of this video, I'm going to change that to 128. And once the 128 is in there, then you're going to hit this return button over here, and that's the save button. You'll hear it beep, and now that's saved. So I'm going to go ahead and tap it because I want to keep it at 130. I don't want to forget that I changed it. So I'm going to put it back at 130 because my cold pressure is 110, and then it beeps to save it. So you do that for every tire, and you can see I have that one done already. Let's go back to the first tire and make sure I set the low pressure at 92 psi. Same thing with that one. And the high temperature over here is 158 degrees. All right, so now that we've done that, let's go into programming the other side of the trailer, which would be this axle 4 on that side and axle 5 on that side. Now, I don't know if you can see it. I'm going to put it up there. There's numbers etched on, like I mentioned earlier, on these caps. So you're going to select the tire. We're going to go into manual ID, tap that, and then we're going to enter that. This one is DD. You got to get it in just the right light because they're etched in there the same color. 0043. And then we're going to hit enter, and you hear the beep. And so you can see it turn blue, but it's reading 0 pressure. Now I got to go out and put it on that tire. The disadvantage I can see to doing this manually is you could probably easily get these sensors mixed up in your hand and put them on the wrong tire. So I would just program them in manually and then go screw them on the tire or put a piece of tape on them and mark them or something so you don't get those mixed up. Okay, so I ran out, put that sensor on the tire, and you can see it's reading 110 psi at 75 degrees. When I got back in, it was already up and running and showing the numbers. Keep in mind that every time you shut the monitor off or you turn it back on, all of these sensors are going to have to communicate again all over again with the monitor, so it may take a few minutes before you start seeing numbers. So let's go ahead and do the last tire. Okay, now that I have that last tire installed, you can see it's alerting at 110, and I did that purposely. You can see down here the high pressure is set at 50 psi, and I purposely did that to show you guys what it sounds like and what it looks like if something alerts. So let's go back to the camera screens, and here's that icon that will show up. You can see we're on camera mode now, but we have this icon right here that showed up that there's a tire alerting. So if all we're doing is monitoring traffic, things like that, and this happens, we can just tap that. It'll automatically take us the tire pressure monitoring screen. As far as hooking up the booster goes, it's very straightforward. You're going to find the location. The first one I'm going to put up on the frame on the front of my fifth wheel. It's straightforward. You're going to attach it somehow. It has a double sticky tape on there. I'm not going to trust just that. I'm also going to use these brackets here to put some screws in so that they don't come undone. They come with alligator clips on each end. I'm not going to use those either because as far as trusting the double sticky tape and just alligators, as far as RV travel, that's a recipe for disaster. We know we're pulling rolling earthquakes down the road, right? So I'm going to hardwire these in and also add some screws. So it's just that. I'm going to put one on the front, on the side of the frame, and another one back by my axles. There's two LED lights on the boosters. One's going to tell you that it's got power and it's working. The other is going to tell you if the boosters are communicating back and forth. So I'm going to go find some 12-volt sources that are steady 12-volt sources, and I'm going to get these attached, and I should be good to go. Okay, so let's take a quick look of where I decided to put my signal boosters. For two reasons I decided to use both of them initially. Number one is because of the length of our RV, and number two is because with our last system it only had one signal booster mounted up front here, and you can see it right here next to this signal booster, and I would regularly lose signal on the tires on the passenger side, so I just wanted to kind of avoid that right out of the gate. So you can see right here in the front, I've got this one mounted to the frame, and I had some easy access into the battery compartment for the wires, so I had a constant 12-volt source there for that booster. And then I moved back to the back here, and just in front of the axles, where I was fortunate enough to find another 12-volt, constant 12-volt source that actually feeds some USB ports on the wall inside my slide out. So I was fortunate enough to find that. You want a constant 12-volt source so that the TPMS is always working when that monitor is turned on. That's the nice thing about this, is they're two separate systems all in one, but they're actually two separate systems. So you don't actually have to turn your running lights on to activate the system like you do the cameras. So it'll be constantly monitoring those tires.